Hello, my name is Andrew Bermudez, and today I want to show a little bit of digital painting. This little speed paint that you are watching right now is a speed paint of this concept art for the Battle of Beersheba segment from Pharaoh's quest, The Curse of Amset-Ra, a film that I'm currently working on and one that will be out much later this year, but will be one that will be released soon, and I hope that you will enjoy it when it comes out. But now I want to get back to the painting and talk a little bit about what's going on. So as you see here, starting out, I'm working on really building up broad grayscale. This is basically to get all the shadows and highlights really refined. Basically, I'm trying to get all these, like I said, highlights and shadows defined. And essentially, by working in grayscale first and then going to color, it will actually read much better in the long run, especially in how I manage my layers. But as for what you see in this scene, essentially, when developing this Beersheba courtyard for Pharaoh's quest, The Curse of Amset-Ra, I had to take into consideration what is being described in the script. So in the script, Mac McLeod and Jake Rains are ambushed in this courtyard, and the only way that they can get out is go down this well. So I knew that when creating this courtyard, I needed to obviously have a well because the script calls for it, but I also need to create a sense of a space where, for part of this scene, Mac and Jake would feel vulnerable, so that you get that sense when those actions occur. And then moving on to color, what I do for the color here is that I'm putting down just a single tone color that is then read through because it's a color layer with all the grayscales. Color very obviously varies depending on what you're trying to go for with this piece. For this piece, I wanted to go with a sense of warm that I'm trying to get with all of Pharaoh's Quest, The Curse of Amset-Ra, because I'm trying to make it a very warm colored movie, a very high temperature movie, if you will. So that's why my base was a very yellowish tan, and then all the other colors that you see being put on are then influenced by that base color in order to give it a warm feel. Even the sky, which is blue, is still sitting on top of that yellowish tan layer, so that even the sky has a warm feeling to it. Textures come next. For these textures, basically what I'm doing is putting down photographs of textures and then using like overlay or multiply or soft light or hard light or another type of filter for a particular layer that Photoshop provides that will create the effect that I want to go for with this texture. And then we get to highlights and shadows. These are laid in with masks. Essentially, I have in this mask the entire canvas covered with the color of the highlights, but I have that entire mask covered, and then I reveal parts of it where I want those highlights to show through. And then for the shadows, I do the same thing, the only difference, of course, being that the shadow color is totally different from the highlight color. And as I was working on this, one thing I was really paying attention to was what color the highlights and shadows would be. And some of the highlights I had already established prior to this portion of the painting process, I had discovered that I created more or less cool highlights and warm shadows. And while it is slightly diluted by the warm undertone that I created with that initial color layer, I still got that sense of, like I said, the cool highlights, the warm shadows, so I took that even further with these highlight and shadow layers. And then from there, it's basically just putting in the detailed paint over. This is basically all of the details, basically all of the like window details that you can see are being put in, basically accentuating all of the highlights and shadows where I feel like they need accentuating, because one thing that I really want to do in this piece is really make the well as the focal point, because it is probably the most important part of this set, because in the scene it plays a very important part. And other things I'm doing is like essentially blending where I need to blend, adjusting, painting over and adjusting textures, because sometimes the textures don't exactly fit with what you're trying to go with, because for the ground, for example, that's actually hammered metal. The problem is that you're looking at that hammered metal straight on with the texture, but for the ground, you're not looking at it straight on, you're kind of looking down at it and seeing it in perspective. So I need to make those tweaks to that ground texture in order to make it feel more like the ground. And that's the painting. Now, this is a preliminary painting, and this is not what the final courtyard will look like in Pharaoh's Quest, The Curse of Amset-Ra. However, it does give an essence of what it's going to look like. So it does capture that warm feeling. It does show what the scene's going to feature. So it has like the well, and it has basically the surrounding buildings that are terraced, so there's places to create that sense of an ambush during the Battle of Beersheba portion of the film. And there you have it. So thank you for watching this episode of the Art Demonstration Show, and I hope to see you again. See you next time.